Wait a
But
minute. Someone blabbed. I thought that your little website was all for doxing, rape, and murder. Like that's what I've
doxing, rape,
heard.
and murder. Is that the
Yeah,
big three? Is that
specifically. I think
the holy trinity of the Kiwi
well,
Farms: doxing, rape, and murder?
technically it's rape, doxing, murder, and rape. Because of how much they like rape. That's what I hear on the Twitters. Though.
You know that okay, since we're getting into that already, you know that crazy bitch that keeps tweeting at you made a post about how the Kiwi Farms is like a pro mass murder website, and used the video being hosted on the site as evidence of that, and was like trying to tie it into Comicsgate in the most like deliberately awkward way possible.
Wait a minute, are you talking about the hippo with the blue wig?
Oh, I don't know what she looks like, but you know who I'm talking about because she's a crazy person.
The hippo with the blue wig. That's who I'm.
But I made a tweet, and I'm going to read my tweet because I'm really proud of how asinine and retarded it is. I said, to everyone out there, comics, Western comics specifically, inspired me to be who I am. It was while reading comics written by you-know-who and other artists like them that I was inspired to do what I do. Comics are very important to me, as is the nation of Israel. So I'm waiting for the... So I'm waiting for this lady to see that and tweet it out. Like, look, there it is. There's the proof. And just so you know, I have literally never once in my life read a comic. I have never once opened the pages of a physical comic book and peered at the images inside. But I'm gonna roll with it because it's funny.
Yeah. That sad hag is she's got a real problem. Her image, her self-image, I think, is entirely reliant on these comic book white knights fighting the good fight on her behalf, hoping for just a little bit of that sweet cosplay side boob or something, right? Like they just really want that, and I think she thrives on that. But the problem is that Comicsgate, I don't know if it's, when I say predictably, I don't mean that derogatorily. I mean it very, very intentionally, and I think that the guys in Comicsgate would agree that they meant it very intentionally too. But I think it's a running joke on the farms, at least in the Vic Mignogna thread, that you are the taker of skulls, right? Because you have, or the.
Yes, I love Damien. He started a meme about it.
Yeah, and
first I was the collector of
skulls,
and then I became the Doxamon master.
Yeah, the Doxamon master. Gotta dox them all.
That's a thing. It's a hashtag.
No, I mean it was.
No,
it's a meme now on Kiwi Farms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But so it's got a Pokedex and then the face of everybody who's been doxed, right? That's
okay. Yeah.
That's what's going on now. And again, I think this is an important distinction. These are not people who are anonymous being exposed. These are people who are public in some capacity and have specifically inserted themselves into a very public argument, right? Like this would be, well, I mean, this kind of happened to me the other week, although the other side isn't very good at it. People brought up my business address and were posting pictures of my office, which to them, like, and they were doing it in retaliation for me having an address of some other lawyer, like his office address, on my show, because he sent an ethics complaint about me probably a year ago. Yeah, Kevin Landau.
It's got to get old, like.
Yeah, but so he has a mailing address in New York. It's not even a real address. It's one of those Regis offices.
Okay.
Because their main office is in Michigan, but they do business in New York, so they have a rent-a office that you can send mail to. And
from what I remember is that the address he has is very fancy, and there's no way he actually has an office there. So it's just
like 45 Rockefeller Plaza. Like, yeah, there's.
It's like there is an office there, but it's like one Chinese lady with like 10,000 different addresses registered there in PO boxes.
It's honestly a mailroom. and tons of places will have an address there, and they sort it all out, and you can go. Because if you're not, I mean, renting an office in Manhattan, it's going to cost you a fortune, right? So I had that up briefly. So then people, of course, like dox my work address, and they're posting my office location, which I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. No. But that would be like me coming out and complaining that I, who am commenting very publicly on this stuff, am now being dragged into it. So I wanted to make it clear that these are not like random anonymous people being doxxed or people who've made one statement on the subject. These are people actively participating in a very public discussion and in very, very inflammatory ways. So, Em, would you be willing to walk us through a little bit, at least, about Dominique's case? Because I found it very interesting when I was looking at what was going on there, and the truth about where that information is and where it kind of came from. So I don't know if you'd be willing.
Okay. You just want like me to walk through how I doxed her, or?
Yeah, and talk about where that information, because I think people think that there's some like elite hacker scene from Swordfish.
Yeah.
With your like 17 monitors and your one crappy keyboard and mouse, and you're like for some reason throwing stuff all over the place and compiling information in a spider's web. But it's never that complicated.
No, it's not. Most of the time. I've never done a dox that complicated. No, so Dominique Sky has public profiles. She has a public Twitter, although she did lock it down for a while, but she unlocked it before this happened. And she has a public Instagram, and she has public Facebook pages. And her husband has a public Facebook page that she links to from her Facebook page. And his name is his Facebook handle. You know, you just look at it and it's there. And I knew that Sky is not her last name. Even if I didn't have confirmation for that, I knew it because there's just no way. But so I had her husband's name, and I had their marriage date because she has that listed on her Facebook. You know, when she links to his, because it says I am married to so-and-so on this day. And, you know, she's come out and said publicly that she lives in Texas. So all I did was look up Texas marriage records for that day with her husband's name. And there it is, her name. And from there, it's, you know, Texas is a state that posts a lot of public information, but a lot of public records, including property records. So I was able to find her address through public property records and confirm it from, even if I didn't have that, she's posted a lot of pictures from inside her house and stuff like that. And just basically, it's like a game, it's like a puzzle. It's all the pieces are there. You just have to put it together. Sure. It's not hacking. It's not
it's more like
stalking.
What's that game, like the numbers? I want to say seppuku, but I know it's Sudoku.
Sudoku. It's not seppuku. Come on.
It's like Sudoku. You have the thing.
Seppuku is a game.
You have the piece of paper. You have a couple numbers in there, and you can logically fill out the entire thing if you look for it. And that's all it is.
Yeah,
it's not magic.
That's what it is. You know, I think there are certain people out there with different perspectives on doxing or whatever. Like, I mean, me, for example, I mean, my information's available on a very public search, right? Like you can find quite a bit about me because I'm a lawyer, so I'm publicly registered. I have a public license. Dominique's a registered nurse, and she has talked about that at length, and you can find information about her from that as well. So there's some people out there with public stuff, and it's something that people need to consider when you're going to talk online about something, is that someone eventually is gonna look for you. It's a numbers game.
Correct.
And and not even no one has to like or dislike anything, right? Like that's not the point of this show, is not to agree or disagree, but it's to dispel some of the rumor and myth out there, because I do think people believe that that there's some sort of like really like you're hacking into a chiropractor office or something who's got their information and trying to take it. Funny story, we grew up with a guy who was a chiropractor, who became a chiropractor.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
The big O?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Do you know that my mom praised him? Was like, you guys need to be more like him. He has this. Next thing you know, the feds.
Yeah. This guy, he was going to the mall, right? He's a chiropractor, and he was setting up a table, and he would take information down, and then he would go and open these like medical access credit accounts on behalf of people without their consent, and then just run the bill up on those through his practice. He thought no one would catch him.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
They got him.
Do you know, I don't think he ever served time, though. White privilege.
Yeah. White privilege and white collar privilege.
No, seriously. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you look at the crime he did, right? That's a federal crime. That you're taking people's money, because now it's wired across state lines. It's federal wire fraud, right? You look at what this guy is doing. These people did not give him consent to go ahead and take their information down and make those payments, right?
Yeah.
He did it to multiple. So each time you do it, that's a new count. You know, so if someone said, how many counts of wire fraud? They would say, every single person times every single transaction is a count.
I think he pled it out.
Of course he did. I mean, your lawyer tells you, yeah, plead. And yet, I don't think he served any jail time. He got like stiff probation.
He did some during the trial. You know, his preliminary stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Because I remember there was a time where he was just gone.
But I think he like resurfaced, right?
Yeah, I think he's out now. Or he's like.
I think his wife was in on it. Maybe.
Oh no, she wasn't in on it. Definitely not.
It was
she was cleared.
Oh, yeah, that's always part of the deal.
You're making a lot of money for a chiropractor.
A lot of these white knights are dying on the sword for some of these thoughts.
But yeah. Anyway, but that's a different story. But it's not like, my point was there. It's not like people are. Some guy on Facebook or on Twitter was talking about how this is a violation of HIPAA and GDPR and stuff like that. And it's like, no. This information was not given to a privileged source and then leaked, right? Like that's a HIPAA violation, is when you give your information to a medical provider and the medical provider comes out and like sells that info or distributes it to someone without your consent. That's a HIPAA violation. GDPR is a Eurozone thing where a website collects data on its users and then they distribute that data without the user's consent to advertisers or whoever. And there's a privilege in that exchange of information, and they're violating the privilege. That's the regulation. This isn't that. It isn't that by any means. It's merely like you can only really dox someone. Well, I shouldn't say you can. Most of the time, people are only really doxed through their own public information just by putting those puzzle pieces together, as you said.